You already know what this video is about, so let's just jump right into it. In this video, I'm going to talk about the 5 ways that I make money with my original music. Number 1, streams. Now I know, a very cliche place to start on this video, but I have to mention it. When it comes to you making music right in the beginning, like say you're just starting out, you take that release, and what you have to do is go to an independent music distributor. Unless you're releasing through a label, bit of a different story, but for most musicians on their own, they go to an independent music distributor. So DistroKid, CD Baby, TuneCore, etc. You give them your release, and they send it out to all these stores and all these services. And as you can imagine, if you get streams, you make money from that. Now, one thing I want to say is there is a bit of a lag. Like the way it works is, let's say you have a release that gets released on January 1st, your newest album, your newest single, etc. It takes, which is kind of annoying, I'm going to be honest, about 2 to 3 months for that money to appear in your account. So let's say on DistroKid, for example, which is the main one that I use to release my music, like say I post it on January 1st, people start streaming it on January 1st, it might not be in my account in terms of the money from streams, I don't know, till about maybe March-ish, right? It's a bit of a lag, which is very unfortunate. In addition, have to be honest, when it comes to streams, doesn't pay that much. Some of it is passive, or a lot of it is passive, I will say. When you release that album, that single, that whatever, you're going to get money forever, assuming people are going to still be listening to it and stuff like that. But you're looking at about, let's say Spotify, on average, is like 1/3 of a cent per stream. So for every 3 streams you get, on average, with Spotify, because it does fluctuate, you get a cent. Not the craziest amount, but that is one way to make money from your music. Number 2, social media music. This is an interesting one that's become very popular, especially, I feel like since the pandemic when TikTok really took off. And the good thing is, I want to say as a side note, if you're releasing music on DistroKid, for example, and most other distributors like TuneCore, CD Baby, etc., not only does your music go on Spotify so people can stream it, but it automatically also gets put on TikTok. Well, let's say if someone makes a TikTok video and they go to add a song to it, the song they could add is yours. So your songs get put in both streaming services like we think of them, but also services that utilize your music in different ways. And I wanted to put this as its own separate point because I've had some of my songs, my biggest one, St. Patrick's Day, which at the time of this video is happening next week, and my song's already getting a ton of views and streams, which is pretty awesome. And one thing that happened on TikTok is I think it was in 2021 or 2022, it was the #1 song on TikTok to use on St. Patrick's Day. It blew up. And what was interesting is it's not like people were streaming it per se, but what happened is people would make a video about St. Patrick's Day. They go to add a song, they pick mine, right? And this can happen in a lot of different instances. And I gotta be honest, I look at this very different than streaming. The good thing is for you, the effort you put in is the same. You give your music to, like, say, DistroKid, and DistroKid puts it everywhere. On TikTok, so people can use it. On Instagram Reels, if you want to put a song on their Instagram Reel. If they want to put a song on their story. For example, Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank used my music on one of his Instagram stories, which is pretty wild. It also gets put on streaming services like Spotify, etc., etc. But this one is another unique way to make money. And like I said, the effort you're putting in isn't that much different. But I would look into optimization. Like I started maybe promoting my TikTok. I started maybe featuring TikToks and use my music because on average, it does fluctuate. And it's kind of weird. The way it works on TikTok, for example, is TikTok pays the musician 3 cents for every video. It's not by per play or per view. So for example, to use a good analogy, let's say I have one video, just one that uses my song, and it got 1 million views, 3 cents. Whether it got 100,000 views or 1 view or 1 million views, I get paid the same because it's per video. But let's say in an alternate universe, there were 1 million videos containing my song, each one getting 1 view. So both technically 1 million views. 1 million views here, 1 million views here. But because it's 1 million views spread out among 1 million videos, 1 view per video, you're going to make way more money. Significantly more money in this instance, right? So the more videos that your song's used in, the better it's going to be on Instagram, TikTok, etc., etc. And this is why things can snowball pretty quick. Because as you can imagine, one big thing on the creator side, like say you have TikTok, like when it comes to TikTokers, is to find the next big trending song. And what happens is, and this is what happened with me, one big creator used my song in like some makeup tutorial. And then another one said, oh, this is really cool. Let me do the same. Let me do the same. And then it kind of snowballs from there very fast. Number 3, pros or performance rights organizations. This is one that I gotta be honest, for most musicians, they don't know about enough or don't utilize enough. This can get very technical, so I'm going to oversimplify this as best as I can. There are numerous different ways to make money, and like I said, this can get very technical, way more technical than you think it should be, I'm gonna be honest. There are different ways to make money when it comes to your music being played. And this is where terminology can get very tricky and splitting hairs as well. Bit of semantics, but the best way I can explain it is this. When someone, let's say, goes to Spotify and listens to your song, you get paid from that stream from Spotify, like I mentioned in the beginning of this video, right? As most musicians know, someone plays your song, you get paid from that. But a good analogy, and this is, I think, a good place to start, is think of the radio. Like, say, a radio station performs your song. Performs. Put that in quotation marks for the purpose of this video. Well, they're not really streaming it. And like, in the sense that we think of it. They're not really streaming it. They're not really playing it. I guess by definition they're playing it. But they're really performing it. And what happens is there are different performance rights organizations all across the world that collect the performance royalties for musicians. And this gets broken down into even more technical parts of royalties, which is why I'm oversimplifying a lot of this. Because technically, when somebody, like say, plays your song on Spotify, there's actually, well, multiple different ways you get paid. But to word it simply for this part, one, you get paid from the stream. But technically, Spotify, in a sense, is performing your music. So you also get performance rights organizations royalties or performance royalties because Spotify, from a certain perspective, is performing your music like a radio station would perform your music. And as you can imagine, you can get royalties from this. Like here in America, for example, the two biggest pros are ASCAP and BMI. Now there's some all around the world. For me personally, I use the platform Songtrust because what they do is they collect the royalties from every performance rights organization in the entire world and give you the royalties from that. That's what I personally use because it's very convenient for me to send them my entire catalog. They track everywhere it's being performed in the entire world. And let's say, whether it's being performed, let's say on TikTok, which is part of that, whether it's on Spotify, whether it's, let's say, on a radio station, let's say a DJ, and this has been happening here and there. It's been a bit of a gray area, but there are some places that say, hey, this DJ was spinning records. We tracked their track list. We saw that one of the songs on the track list was you. It was Fuchero. We're going to give you money from that. Number 4, YouTube. Now, I look at, when it comes to the different services or ways to listen to music, I look at most of them in the same category. There are a couple of exceptions that I feel like are in their own category. One of these is SoundCloud, right? I think SoundCloud, compared to every other platform out there, is kind of its own unique thing, if you get what I'm saying. In addition to that, YouTube is also in its own separate category because, as you can imagine, you're watching this YouTube video now. That's how you're watching it. When it comes to YouTube, it is a powerhouse of a platform. I've done a lot of videos about YouTube for musicians. I've talked about different tips and tricks with that. I've talked about even SEO tricks just for musicians to get more plays and listens on your music by using different search engine optimization techniques and a lot more. And I'm telling you, when it comes to YouTube, it is a powerhouse of a platform to make money with your music. Now, I will say, being honest, the RPMs on YouTube for music is very low. What does that mean? Now, in case you didn't know, as a side note, this is very important to understand for YouTube, when it comes to YouTube, not all views are created equal. And to oversimplify this, the big term, the technical term is RPM, which stands for revenue per 1,000 impressions. This is a big thing among every content creator on YouTube knows. It's a very hot topic about RPMs because some niches, some types of videos have higher or lower RPMs. A gaming video, on average, gets you about $2 for every 1,000 views. A video about, let's say, accounting might get you an RPM of $10 for every 1,000 views. So depending on the topic, you can get more money for the same amount of views. Music, on the other hand, gotta be honest, is very low. I mean, some of my songs on YouTube have gotten a 50-cent RPM, which is stupidly low. It's almost comically low. But even still, it is very passive income, very passive. And in addition, I've noticed that besides TikTok, someone has asked me, what are the two biggest ways you've noticed your music just blowing up? Like it happens on one spot and just blows up everywhere else. TikTok and YouTube. YouTube is an incredible platform. It's the second biggest search engine, second just to Google, and the number one entertainment search engine, period. It's a bigger entertainment search engine than Google itself, right? And so when it comes to YouTube, I think I've done a lot of videos about it on this channel, and for a good reason, because I think YouTube is a very underrated tool that you can quickly and easily create a YouTube channel. If you have a Gmail account, you automatically have a YouTube channel, in case you didn't know. You can quickly and easily and for free make a YouTube channel, start posting your music, try to optimize it using all the techniques I've talked about in different videos. You can even get a YouTube OAC or an official artist channel. You can get verified on YouTube as an official artist. I've already done videos about how to do that. It's just an incredible platform, especially when it comes to making money. Number 5, sync licensing. Now, I'm gonna be honest, this one's becoming less common, mainly in my opinion, because of AI generated music and AI music generators in general, like Suno and Udio, which I've done a lot of videos about on this channel. But it can still happen. All this means is this: like say a movie, a TV show, a video game, some type of medium or media says, hey, we love your song, we heard it here, we want to kind of buy you out. In the sense that you keep the rights to your music and everything, we're not trying to steal your music, we want to pay you $300 for the ability to use your music in our newest commercial, in our newest TV show, in our newest movie, etc., etc. Now, the rates fluctuate. It depends on a lot of different factors. But what's kind of cool is I have had people pay me because like, hey, Mark, we love your song. We really want to use it in our next commercial. Can we pay you to use it? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely, go for it. Now, being honest, there are some musicians who've done videos on YouTube being like, oh, you can make hundreds of thousands of dollars doing sync licensing, which is possible. I'm not saying they're lying, but I think in this day and age, in 2025, as I'm filming this video, it isn't as prevalent for, I'd say, 2 different reasons. One, like I mentioned right away, AI music. For a lot of movies and TV shows and commercials, they're saying, wait a minute, I can just make it on AI for a $10 a month membership on Suno. Why pay even $100 to a musician unless they really like the song when I can just do it myself? I mean, I've even seen a lot of commercials using like royalty-free samples from Splice. Like I know it's a Splice sample, and they just loop it, and that's just their thing. So they're not even like finding a song. It's more of like a loop or a sample. The second thing is the way social media works. And again, I still get paid from this, but it's kind of tricky. I've had companies use my music in their commercials, and I didn't know about it until someone tagged me in it. I said, hey, Mark, this is your song. There was one company in Japan, I think it was an alcohol company. I can't remember what alcohol they were selling. But they used my music in their commercial. And I didn't know about it till one of my friends found it and said, whoa, this is your song. Did they pay you for it? They're using your song in the background of their video when promoting their alcohol. You should get paid for that. I'm like, kind of tricky. Now, I will say, they did tag me in it. They gave me a shout out in terms of my Instagram handle. I think they did also, of course, like they did the bells and whistles to give me credit. But what's tricky is, because the way it works on social media, I didn't get any sync licensing from it. They tagged me in the song because they posted it as a reel. They did give me credit in the description as well. So they did try to, be like, hey, check out the song, by the way. We want to give them the shout out. We don't want to like not mention who it was or the song. But because of the way things work now, didn't really get maybe the proper sync licensing revenue I could have. At the end of the day, though, this is something that's very possible still now in 2025, although in my opinion less common, where you can get money from your music being put in other places. And now, a bonus way that I make money with my own original music is content around making music. Now, I want to say 2 things. One, this is probably the most profitable and the biggest one on this list, so saving the best for last. And 2, I want to mention this at this point in this video. I did not include performances on this video. The reason why is when it comes to performances, I feel like you can get performances whether you have original music or not. I just did videos about, trying to make it as a musician full time, and my top thing is get good at performing. If, let's say, you're a DJ and you have no original releases, you can still get DJ gigs. If, let's say, you're a band, you can still get gigs by playing cover songs, right? Or playing songs made by other people. In this video, I want to focus on ways to make money that's specifically directed and related to your original music, right? And with this bonus point, and this is a big one, making content about your own music. So for example, if let's say I did a YouTube video or I made content about my Ableton project, like say I just released a song, and now I'm like, hey, I'm doing a YouTube video that's a YouTube tutorial to show you my Ableton project and show you how I made this song. Like say I do tutorials about how I made one synth in one song, how to use Serum and how I use it in this other song, how I mixed and mastered this other song. These are different ways to make money. And what's funny is, and a lot of musicians have experienced this, which is why there's a lot of stuff out there. There's a lot of sample packs. Like there are some artists, I think Glitch Mob did this for one of their albums. They released a sample pack of all the drum samples from their newest album. And you can buy those samples and use them legally. And when a lot of musicians have realized, which is the definition of irony, that the tools around making music usually pay way more than how much you're going to make from your music itself, right? Another thing I saw one artist do, Mr. Bill, phenomenal producer, when he released one album, he also released all the Ableton projects. You could buy not only the album, so you can listen to it, but buy the actual, which is kind of wild, to be honest. You could buy the actual Ableton projects. Nothing was hidden out or whatever. Like, fully the true Ableton projects that he used, you could buy them and have that entire set, and you could see how he did everything. You kind of tweak it as you wanted, all this kind of stuff, right? So these kind of tools about making music, whether it's tutorials, whether it's a course that you make related to you making your own music, whether it's sample packs, whether it's, Ableton lessons. Like, say someone's like, hey, I saw you made this really good dubstep song. Like, can I pay you like $40 an hour, for example, and you show me how you do that in Ableton? Or like, say you just sell your Ableton projects or your FL Studio projects. Basically, whatever the case is, if you make content around your music, what's interesting, and like I said, I've noticed this so many times, is a lot of times it pays way more than your music itself. And, let's say talking about YouTube, which you mentioned earlier, if let's say you're really trying to grow your YouTube channel, doing tutorials is a better way, A, to get more subscribers than your music, just based off the way the YouTube algorithm works. But two, which is really interesting, I talked earlier about RPMs, you're going to make more money per view about a music tutorial than you will from your actual music. A bit ironic, I'm going to be honest, but that's a reason why. I mean, look at a lot of big artists. They're releasing courses. They're releasing tutorials. They're releasing sample packs. They're releasing preset packs for Serum, for example. They're releasing their Ableton projects. They're releasing pretty much a lot of these building blocks and a lot of these elements that go into making music, because it's crazy to say, but these building blocks and all these elements of making music and the pursuit of the study of making music, these tools pay way more in a lot of cases than your music itself.